And I remember landing here at LAX and seeing the flowers. I remember it was a yellow flower, and I looked at that flower. I was like, that's so beautiful. I want to stay here. So I remember standing, seeing like, the level, and I was like, where am I gonna go? And the enrollment counselor was like, well, you have to pay $40K in order to start. And I was like, oh my God, where am I gonna get this money from? And if you really want it, you have to do it. Like, don't be lazy. Like, at the end of the day, it's for you. And then 30 minutes later, she comes back running. And I was like, oh my God, I kid you not. Every little, like, negative thoughts were coming in my head.
All right, so how's it going, everyone? Welcome back to the Leverage Podcast by Juan May Hernandez. As y'all know, I'm on a mission of helping the undocumented community get more jobs to entrepreneurship. And one of the things that I want to start doing is I want to start interviewing other undocumented entrepreneurs, DACA entrepreneurs, learn a little bit more about them. So this is actually going to be the first episode, and y'all can let me know if y'all enjoy it or not. But today I do have my good friend Jennifer Aguilar, so I will let her sort of introduce herself.
Hello, everyone. My name is Jennifer Aguilar. I was actually born in El Salvador. I came here when I was 7 years old with my mother and my brother.
So tell me, I guess let's talk a little bit about like your upbringing. Like, how was it when you first arrived here?
So I came here May 28, 2007. Um, it's funny. I would say my story is like kind of unique because we actually came here to visit my family members that were here. So my mother, she actually how can I say it? She was raised by my good grandma in El Salvador. So my family, they came here during the Civil War, and my mother decided to stay over there. So she went to college over there. She got you know, I would say she got like financially stable, and she applied for a visa. So we came here through a visa. And I guess my mother, she kind of felt alone over there since she was the only one. And I remember my brother and we like convinced her to stay here because like we didn't really grow up with cousins like that. And I remember landing here at LAX and seeing the flowers. I remember it was a yellow flower, and I looked at that flower. I was like, that's so beautiful. I want to stay here. So yeah, then we were gonna leave July 28th. And then I guess we really convinced my mother, so we stayed.
So initially, y'all came to visit, just to like
Yeah.
travel, like just to. Oh, interesting.
Yeah, so I mean, I would say everything happens for a reason. And it's funny because my mom, since, my great grandma raised her, she didn't tell my great grandma that we were gonna stay, but she was like so sad because obviously we were her company and she kind of raised my brother and I as well.
Kind of. So okay, so you came through a visa. I'm assuming a tourist visa, right?
Yes.
How long did they give you, to visit?
10 years.
They give you 10 years to visit.
Yes, and we stayed in the first visit.
Okay. Okay. And do you miss like your home country at all?
I would say not really. I know it's gonna sound very selfish, but maybe because my whole family was here, like all my cousins, like we were the only ones over there. And then initially, all of my friends from El Salvador, they're here now as well. So, and then I mean, I do miss like certain aunts or uncles because I know they're like old and obviously I can't go back. So it is sad knowing that I'm never gonna see them again.
Got it. And so, okay, so when you moved here, were there any challenges like culturally, or like did you ever struggle with like, English? I know for me, like I took English language development up until I was like in eighth grade, but I don't know, like, do you have any challenges? What were some of those challenges? And yeah.
100%. I remember when I came here, I started second grade. You know what's funny? I actually never did first grade in El Salvador, nor here, because I skipped first grade because of my birthday. But luckily, my mother, she taught me how to read when I was like 3 years old. And apparently my mom was trying for me to do first grade here, but the teachers in the school, they're like, no, she already knows to read. Like she's good. Because I guess that's what you learn in first grade. But I did find second grade being very challenging. Like I was here by myself. I actually remember the first day of school. Um, my class was like up in a building, and I remember I was like it was for recess. So I remember standing, seeing like, the level, and I was like, where am I gonna go? And I saw a big tree with a table. So I was like, you know what, little Jenny came down the stairs and sat down at the table, and I was just like seeing everyone play, and I was just there alone, not knowing what to do. But I feel like I've always been very friendly. And I've always talked to everyone. So this little kid, he's still my friend. He was like my first friend, and he like introduced me to everyone. But I do remember when my grandma would drop me off because obviously my mom started to work, I would cry every morning. And I think that happened for like 6 months. And I guess I just felt alone. It was like a new school, new people, a new language, a new environment, and it's just a 7-year old trying to figure out, their next step.
Wait, so you started school second grade. You didn't go
Yeah.
no kinder, no first grade.
I did go to kinder in El Salvador, but I didn't do first grade over there, nor here.
That's interesting. How does that how does that work?
I have no idea, but I guess so my birthday is July. And I don't know if you remember, but before the schools were track, like track A, track B.
Yeah, I
I
remember.
do not remember what track I was in, but I remember it was like I was gonna start in July, and then we came in
Mm.
May. So if my mom, she just wanted it to enroll me as soon as possible. But for some reason, the schools, they're like, no, like she already knows how to read, she already knows the colors, she already know her ABCs. So they just put me in second grade.
And then do you feel like okay, so I guess like fast forward to like high school, do you feel like skipping one grade like set you back, or do you feel like you were ahead of people? Did that affect you at all? Like,
I don't think so. I don't think it affected me because I'm telling you, like I already knew how to read because apparently
mm-hmm,
due to the teachers, that's what they told my mom because knew how to read, like I was good. But
mm-hmm,
I do think about it because I feel like your friends shape you, you know? I feel like one of my best friends have shaped me, and I feel like I became like very so interested in school because of her, because she would always motivate me.
mm-hmm.
So maybe if I had a different friend, if I, didn't do second grade because I wouldn't have met her, then probably I would have had a different journey. Does that make sense?
Yeah, you know, it does make sense, and I agree with you when you say like that your friends shape you, because I do. Well, I mean, they could shape you positively or negatively. Like, would you agree? Like, depending on how you surround yourself, like that's how you view the world and when way, shape, or form.
I agree. I think your friends do shape you, to be honest. Like for example, one of my best friends, and I owe who I am to her. She loved to talk. And to be honest, I was like a very quiet little girl. I
Mm-hmm.
spoke very lowly. Like no one was able to hear me because I was so shy. But I don't know if I was shy because it was a second language that I was trying to get used to. So I remember
Mm-hmm.
my friend Marely. Well, shout out to her if she hears it. But I remember she just like took me under her wings and she was like, Jenny, like, just let's make friends. And I think I would see her be so open and so social and talking to everyone. So I feel like she did shake me and she did
Mm-hmm.
inspire me and help me to get out of my shell. It's funny because my mother, she would never like check my grades because I mean, she always trusted in me. But my friend, she was like, "Hey, why do you have a C in history? Let's study. Let's get you B next week." So I feel like she motivated me a lot.
And I guess like speaking about motivation, like so you've continued to go to school, and right now you're in grad school, right? And your master's program. What has been the motivation to continue to go to school? Because I finished my bachelor's, I was like, I'm not going for my master's, but what has motivated you to continue to, you know, go
Ooh,
to school?
that's a good question. I don't know if it's because I'm super driven or I just want more. Like that's my personality. Like I
Hmm.
just want more. And I feel I don't know if it's due to being, undocumented or not, but I feel like we get no's a lot. Like I remember in community college, I applied for a program and they obviously you had to have had a GPA of 3.0 and they accepted me. They invited me for the interview and like right at the interview, I told them that I was a DACA recipient and they're like, "Oh, sorry. Um, I we do not get funds for students like you." And I was like, "Oh, dang." Like I was like yeah, I felt weird at that moment. Like it was like the room got quiet. And then I was like, you know what? I'm not gonna let that discourage me. Like that's gonna keep me going. So, and the same thing happened when I graduated with my bachelor's. I like just like knocked every door and I was like, hey, I'm a DACA student. What resources do you have for me? Like, please help me out here. And I guess, and it's funny because when I graduated with my bachelor's, I was just like you. I was like, you know what? I was like, I am done with school. You will never see me touch a book again. But then again, I remember I was like, I got a panic attack and I was like, oh my God, I'm gonna be like 23 next year. I haven't gotten, I have to apply for my master's degree. So I applied for my master's degree. I wanted it to do therapy because everyone comes to me with their problems. I was like, you know what? I'll be a great therapist. Like I do it for free. Like let me get paid for it. And then I applied for my master's degree. And I mean for my MFT, I got accepted. Then I had the interview with the dean, and then I spoke with the enrollment counselor, and the enrollment counselor was like, "Well, you have to pay $40K in order to start." And I was like, "Oh my God, where am I gonna get this money from?" And and then after I was like, you know what? Like, I feel like your master's degree is what makes you, if you get what I mean. And so I was like, you know what? I feel like I want to be wise and what degree I get, especially with my master's. So I took a year off and I reflected on my values and passions. I was like, I want to start my own business. I want to go more in I want to get my MBA or something in management. So I reapplied. So it's funny, I reapplied for my master's degree in therapy. And I got accepted. This was my second round, right? I did the interview with the dean. And then it's funny because I just felt weird. I was like, no, I feel like this is not meant for me. Like, this is not for me. And I look at the programs that they had for businesses. So I saw that they had their masters in organizational leadership and management. So that's when I applied. And it's funny because like right after the meeting with the dean, I spoke with the enrollment counselor. I was like, yes, I want to change my program. And then he was like, why? And then after that's when he told me that they were offering for scholarships for students wanting to go into management. So I guess that's why, because I was like, you know what, it's meant to be, I guess. And if it's free money, I'm there.
And that's for the whole program.
Yeah.
Okay. Oh, that's not bad. That's not
Yeah,
bad.
it's not bad.
Yeah,
I'm
yeah.
like, look, a car is 15K.
What type of car are you buying that is 15K? You
I'm
mean a
like, look,
used car? You mean a used
well,
car?
most people they're spending like 40Ks on cars. Like,
Yeah,
like this degree can help me get 100K. You know?
I
That's my
like that.
mentality. I feel like that's my mentality and that's what keeps me going. And I feel like I'm so driven. Like I'm very like I always think about how I spend my money too.
Hmm.
It's like it's either a want or a need. And you decide.
Mm-hmm. Kind of get it. So I guess like okay, let's suppose like an undocumented student just graduated from their undergrad and they're thinking about going to grad school, but they don't know how they're gonna pay for it. Like, what advice would you give them on either finding those resources or going to grad school? What advice would you give to that person?
I would say apply for scholarships. I know there's a lot of scholarships out there for undocumented student, and I know it's tedious, but if you really want it, you have to do it. Like, don't be lazy. Like at the end of the day, it's for you. That's the advice I would give. Like, don't
Okay.
think about it too much. Just take 3 hours of your day and research. I know there's a lot of organizations, there's a lot of businesses, so there's a lot of even schools, they offer scholarships. And
Right.
on your phone is your moneymaker.
That's
So
true.
use your phone wisely too.
That's true. That's true. Now, I want to go back to something you mentioned a little bit, which is you started your own business. And like I've met you a few times and stuff, but one thing that I always have a question on is how'd you come up with your name? But before we get into your name, like tell me about your business and then I want to learn more about how you come up with that name. I have no clue how that name came about, but let's start. Do you want to introduce your business, what it's called, and then tell me what it is, and then we'll dive into your name.
I love this question. Someone asked me this yesterday, actually. So the name is Mutats. It's Mutaats. So when I was a little girl, my uncle, he would call me Mutatita as an alternative for muñequita and muchachita because I was like 4 years old and bossing people around and thinking I was a teenager and I was like, yeah, go get me water. And I was like very sassy. So he came up with the name. So with coming up with like my own business name, I didn't want to do Jenny Cosmetics or lipsticks, or Jenny's lipsticks. I want something to be authentic. So it can be for all genders, mutats, for muchachitos and muchachitas.
Interesting. Okay. And how did the whole concept come about? Like, right? Because I know you do specifically lipstick, and I'm assuming you're wearing it right now, the
Yeah.
one that you do. But like, how'd you come up with the initial idea? Like, were you having lunch and then it hit you? You're like, I just want to do this, or what was the backstory? Tell me more about that.
I was actually in bed staring at the ceiling. Staring at the ceiling, I was like, what could be something cool? No, but actually, it started during the pandemic. I went vegan actually for a while. So I became very hypochondriac. I was like, you know what? If I'm taking care of myself internally, I have to take care of myself externally as well. So I did research you know, on beauty brands that use animals, and I think it just like freaked me out and it disgusted me. So I was like, you know what? Like, let me make my own lipsticks. So I remember the next day, and it was during the pandemic, so everything was closed. There was nothing to do. So I took 8 hours of my day and I did research. I did research on the bad products and good ingredients. And I just wrote all the good ingredients. And then, like, little by little, I leveled down with all the ingredients that I wanted to use. And I started formulating lip balms. But then after, I was like, yo, if I can make lip balms, I'm pretty sure I can make lipsticks. So I started extracting pigments from like fruits. And my first fruit that I ever played with was with pomegranate because they're like very red. So I extracted pigment from that, but it takes like hours. So now I focus on mostly like natural dyes. But yeah, and then I just started formulating. I mean, it took me 6 months to get the formula, then another 6 months to get the pigments. And then I was like to joke around that it took me 6 months to get the confidence.
Interesting.
So a year
Why
and a half.
a year and a half to launch it? What? Okay, so let's dive deeper into the confidence aspect of it because I think that's actually something that I haven't heard very recently. So like, what do you mean that it took you 6 months to build the confidence? Like, go deeper on that. What are some of the things that you had to like develop to be able to be like, hey, this is ready to launch? Because I also feel like a lot of people trying to start a business within the undocumented community, like they don't have that confidence, like you mentioned, right? So tell me a little bit more about that.
I would say, I mean, I am doing products. So I think my biggest fear is like, how about if something happens to someone's lips? But then after, I think it's just the little voices in my head, that like to bring you down. We all have those little voices sometimes. And so I started getting reviews for my friends. I started giving lipsticks and lip balms to my friends and getting their constructive criticism. And yeah, and then I just started listening to their advice and I just started playing with like different ingredients. I think I wasn't confident enough if people wouldn't like it or if it just felt weird on people's lips, if that makes sense.
And how many? So, like, I feel like right now you're discussing, like, you kind of tested it before, like, you launched it to the market, right? Just to get that confidence. Like, how many people did you test your product with? And, like, were there any challenges trying to get other people to try on a lipstick that is, like, brand new, right? Or was it really easy, like, when you told your friends to use your lipstick?
I would say, well, it was very easy with my friends because I feel like some of them have seen the process and they have been excited for it. But it's actually funny because when I do pop-ups, I mean, I've only done 3 pop-ups, and I remember the first time, and this is like my favorite story to tell people. And it was like so inspiring, like I got so inspired at it. But obviously, I feel when I go to pop-ups and I tell people that I make the lipsticks, like everyone, they get I would say they get kind of hesitant about it. And then they always ask me if there's like a third party involved. I'm like, no, like this was literally made in my kitchen, like by me, like, you know? And I remember this lady, she came once, right? No, she came 3 times. She came the first time, she started asking about the products, and she looked at every lipstick, and then she left. She came again, and then she started smelling the lipsticks, and she left. And then she just kept staring at me, and I was like, in my head, I was like, I don't know what to do. So she came the third time, and she was like, "Can I try the lipsticks on?" And I was like, "Yes, of course," because obviously at pop-ups I display like samples. And she bought 2 pink shades. Anywho, she bought it and I was like, I hope she really likes it. And this was my first time. It was my first pop-up ever. So I was like super nervous. So she left with her husband. And then 30 minutes later, she comes back running and I was like, oh my God, like I kid you not, every little like negative thoughts were coming in my head. I was like, oh my God, maybe the lipstick fell, maybe the lipstick probably melted. Like she probably didn't like it. And like, she came and she was like, Jennifer, she was like, I really love your lipsticks. She was like, I tried it on. She was like, my husband came and complimented me. He never does that. And then in my also like in my packaging, I add affirmations like behind the paper on where it says how to use it. And then I guess she was having a hard week and she was like, those affirmations just made my day. And then after I think that's what like made me realize to lose all my doubts. And I was like, you know what, I have something good here. Like, let me just keep on going. But I feel like it never stops because the same day earlier, this woman, she bought my lipstick. It was 7 a.m. and she was like very bougie, right? And she was like my first customer. I even have a picture of me and her. But she bought the lipstick, right? And she was like so happy. She left and then she came back an hour and the same thoughts were coming in my head. I was like, oh my God. I was like, the lipstick probably fell. It probably, she probably didn't like it. But she just came. She was like, Jennifer, she was like, you have something great. Like, please keep on going. And then she was like, I'm wearing my new lipstick. And she was like, do you want to take a picture? I was like, yes. So I think I was thinking about those 2 stories. I'm like, you know what? I just have to keep on going. Like, I have to stop listening to the negative thoughts in my head.
And how have you, like, managed those negative thoughts? Like, I'm assuming they come less frequently now, given that, like, you've had some customers and you've done a few pop-ups now.
I don't know, to be honest. I think I just try to go back to, like, the good moments and outweigh the good with the bad. But, or I just try to get people's reviews. And I was like, okay, I have to focus on this, and people don't like this. I have to come up with something else. You know, I feel like it's a business. It's like raising someone.
And okay, so how long have you been having this business now?
So I started formulating 2020. I guess it's been on the work for like 4 years. But I've been in business, like selling lipsticks, 1 year.
1 year. And what have been some of the biggest takeaways you've learned about yourself and about building a company within the last year that you've actually been in business?
I feel, I I mean, I feel like when it comes to like, coming up with your product, like it's important to be patient. And I am not a patient person. I'm super impatient, but that's like one of the biggest takeaways that this business has taught me to be patient. I mean, good things take time. And just believe in yourself. I feel like believing in yourself can take you a long way. But I do want to do more pop-ups this year and put myself out there and be more and get out of my comfort zone because I feel like I am shy. It doesn't seem like it, but I am kind of shy, kind of. And I just want to get rid of like that 1% of shyness and like make it 100%. So I just want to like raise funds as much as possible through my pop-up and invest it back to my business and do I honestly, but I would say my main goal or like one of my dream is to help students like me and to give scholarships one day to the undocumented community or not even to like the undocumented community, I would say for people who are struggling paying college because I know it's hard out there.
No, yeah, totally. And how much money you want to give in scholarships? Do you have a number in mind? Do you have how many people you want to help out? Like, have you thought that far?
I have thought about how much I would love to give, but not how many people.
So
But
how
obviously,
much?
I don't have that money right now.
But how
Maybe
much is
in
it? How
five
much is
years.
it?
I would love to give out 10K or
10,000?
5K. Help them. I would love to help someone pay for like one class at least, or
Mm-hmm.
buy books or
Mm-hmm.
food, everything, anything.
Yeah, no, for sure. I guess like my final question that I have, how do you define success? Because I know everyone has different definitions of what success is. But I'm curious, like, how do you define success? What does success mean? What does success mean to you?
Um, ooh, never stopping. Keep on going. I feel like that's what success means to me. Don't let a no stop you or discourage you because you will probably hear a lot of no's, but I promise one of those doors will say yes, and that's when success will come.
I love that. I love that. Now, if people are trying to get in contact with you, how can they get in contact with you? How can they learn about your business? How can they connect with you in case they have any other questions?
Yes. So I do love helping people. I love giving advices. Well, my personal Instagram is just meditate, like meditation, but just meditate with three E's at the end. And then my business account is Mutats. It's Mutaats. And then my LinkedIn, it's Jenna Aguilar 0713.
All right. Now, before we end it, is there anything else you want to share? Like anything else you want to tell, anybody that is listening?
I would say just keep on going. Don't be discouraged by the no's. I feel like that's my favorite quote. I'm gonna come up with my own quote one day, and you will see it in schools. Your kids will be reading it.
I love that. Yeah, you could also probably put it on the affirmations of your packaging too, like one of your quotes and stuff. That could be a start one.
Yeah.
Just an idea. I don't know. It just came to me.
I should read you my affirmations, but actually a friend, well, my friend's boyfriend, he actually like, inspired me because my affirmations are like, I am beautiful, um, I am close to nature, I am joyful, I am capable, but at the end, I ended with I am, like I am everything that I just read.
I love that. I love that. Awesome. Well, thank you so much, Jennifer, for being part of my first episode of I don't know what to call this series, but